So about 5 or 6 weeks ago, the currently airing Super Sentai series ended, known as Zyuohgers, and what started after that was the now currently airing Super Sentai series known as Q-Ranger, right? I think it was like Animal Sentai Zyuohgers, and now it's like Space Sentai Q-Rangers or something. And I want to talk about both, but specifically in this video, I'll talk about probably Zyuohgers, because to be honest, the Sentai before Zyuohgers was Ninjers, and I don't know how everybody else felt about it, but I thought it was super lacking. And a number of people have given criticisms like, oh, the Red Ranger was dumb or stole the show, or it just became a Red series or something. That's not really the problem. And the reason for me why that's not a problem is because the Red Ranger was the most interesting one. Even though he was kind of OP, a lot of people complained, mainly because in the beginning of the series, and even sort of at the end of the series, what was his name? Takeru? I think it was like Takeru or something like that. He was like super OP, but he sort of had a reason for it. His dream from childhood was to become like the last ninja or whatever, so he was training this entire time while everybody else was doing like, I'm going to school, I'm going to Hogwarts, essentially. The Blue Ranger was pretty much he was attending a magic school in England. He was going to Hogwarts. And everything like that, right? So, I don't think that really was a problem. And to be honest, there have been other shows where have been red focused, like Geki Ranger. But to me, I thought Geki Ranger was a great show because of its villain. His villains, I guess I should say, Mayday and Reo. So, that's not really the problem. The big problem I primarily ran into was that the characters just, number one, it's a common problem in other Sentai series, but the characters just were not like any sort of dynamic, right? So the problem I had specifically with the Ninjas was just like, the characters were lacking. And so I found that I had somewhat of a similar problem in Zyuohger. Difference being that in Zyuohgers. Sorry, I'm petting my cat, and you see right there. Here he is, kitty. The problem in I keep getting the names mixed up. The problem with Zyuohgers was that it felt like sort of safe. I liked all the characters more, definitely more than I liked them in Ninjers. I actually liked all of the characters, although Misao kind of got annoying after a while. Was he gold? Was he the Gold Ranger? I'm trying to think of what his costume looks like, and I just, like, can't imagine it in my mind. He was, like, gold, silver, black. Yeah, because he was 3 in 1, so he was, like, gold, silver, black. But so, in this particular Sentai series follows Yamato, who is a, oh my god, what is he? I can't think of what the name of it is. He works with animals, right? Okay, so he works with animals, and he discovers this cube, and it leads to Zumanland, and Zumanland is essentially just this, like, other world where the people are, like, animals. That's really what it is. They're, like, just animals, right? And he goes there, and they end up bringing him back, but then they get stuck there because the enemies, Genus-sama and the rest of them, destroy the cube. Or, no, they don't destroy the cube. Something happens, I can't remember exactly what, but there's no, like, extra cube for them to get back, I think is what happened, and they have to search for it. And so, because they've been missing a cube. And, like, so essentially, the show is, at first, man, we gotta find our way back home. Also, we gotta, like, protect Earth and stuff, because Genus-sama's crazy. And so, like, that's really the premise. It's not like a Kamen Rider series where there's always, like, a legit plot, except for fucking Ghost. Ghost can go fuck itself. Sorry, I really didn't like Ghost that much. But so, the big problem with Zyuohgers, alright, so let me just talk about the positives. The positives of Zyuohgers is that at the very least, I find its cast likable, alright? I think they all have unique personalities, and I think the female cast members are actually genuinely likable. And I say genuinely likable because usually I find them annoying. Because like I said in Ninjas, which was previous to that series, Kasumi was fine. but Fuka, I think, was the younger girl's name. I just thought she was really annoying. And there have been a number of other female rangers that I'm just like, oh, great, they're here. But I genuinely found the Ninjas cast to be very delightful. I liked them. I did like them. Except Misao got annoying, like I said, who is the extra ranger. So the big problem actually is, in all of it, it's that even though, ooh, whoa, that was close. It's even though I found the show to be nice, it was nice to watch, and at sometimes I was like, oh man, that was a great plot twist. Like, they really fucking got me. Because I'll say, there were a couple of plot twists in there that I genuinely just wasn't expecting. They legitimately got me. And if you've watched Gokaiger, it's actually like a little cameo, like a 2-episode cameo of Gokaiger, which is pretty awesome. But the problem is, once again, that the cast members, though likable, are not really that dynamic. I don't feel that they've changed or that I've really gotten to know them. We definitely get to know about their, like, lives in the other world, in their homeland, but that's really it. We don't really, like, learn anything about them. Like, Leo is straightforward. I knew that in the beginning, I knew that at the end. Tusk is awkward. Same thing. Misao is awkward. Same thing. Yamato's a nice guy. Same thing. Amu is kind of, well, I think Amu probably got some of the most development because Amu seems somewhat airheaded and selfish in the beginning. But then later on you find that she is like much more aware of what's going on than you think. And she actually had, because it is part of her backstory, it was just her and her mom. Like, she actually has more going on than you know, which is great. But, like, Sela doesn't really grow, I don't think. None of them really grow as people. And they try and force Misao's change toward the end, but I really don't feel like that even happened, The only people who I feel change, really legitimately change, is probably Amu. I was gonna say Yamato at the end, but once again, I felt like that was sort of forced, and it happened so far at the end of the series. The positive is that in Yamato's case, they don't make it go all the way. They don't just have him go from point A to point B, like he's this, then he's that. It's more like he's working on it, you know what I mean? Although I will give it credit for one thing, and that is that the ending was very unexpected. I actually did not expect it to end exactly the way it did end. I was just like, oh shit. I was like, whoa, like, okay, I guess that's a thing. And I actually very much did enjoy the ending of Zyuohger's. That I definitely did enjoy. But there are other negatives, and that is that it felt very stale at times. It was fun, don't get me wrong, it was definitely fun, but it was also like super stale a lot of the time, right? So what would happen would be like every week it was a monster of the week, which is fine. That's how Super Sentai just works. It's always, or at least mostly, monster of the week. But the biggest problem came because it was so monster of the week, and every episode sort of just felt stale a lot of the time. Or sometimes I feel like they really would try to be like, shoehorn something in, and then they'd make like a really forced monster or something. It sounds weird to say that, but it happened a lot in Ninjas too, except Ninjas had a theme, which was they're all yokai, which is pretty cool. They're all based off yokai. But then there were just some in Zyuohger's where I was like, what the fuck are they even doing with this? Why is this even here? I will give it credit that I think I did genuinely like, I'm tired. I did genuinely like Kubar. What was his name? The, bounty hunter guy. There's a bounty hunter guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And Gina-sama as a villain was pretty cool until the end, kind of. I felt like he has a reveal, and I feel like his reveal's kind of dumb, but whatever. Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything because they're not the best villains though, because if you've seen, in my opinion, Tokyugers and Geki Rangers have two great casts of villains in them. Both of those shows have great villains in them. I know there are other shows, but I didn't start watching Super Sentai until Gokaiger, and even Gokaiger had some great villains, but I didn't start watching until Gokaiger, so anything before Gokaiger I'm not 100% on. I've only seen a handful. I have seen Shinkenger. Shinkenger also had some great villains. And see, that's the thing. Usually Sentai make up for the fact that sometimes their cast of characters is sort of meh, with the fact that their villains are fucking great. But in this particular series, the villains are mostly just like, okay. Like, I liked Kubar. I thought he was good. But like, his ending in the show, if you will, like, what it all came down to with him, I wasn't really that impressed. And then I like the bounty hunter guy, but like, actually no, I think he was pretty good the whole time. You know, I'll let him go. I really liked him. I actually really liked him. Genus, I didn't really like his plot twist or whatever. So in the end, I guess I was sort of disappointed with them. But they were better in some ways than a lot of the main characters, the main Sentai members. And another thing is that one of the things I don't really like is I don't like when there's no conflict amongst the cast members. Because I get that these 4 or 5 individuals, no 4, there's 4 Zumans. The 4 individuals, Leo, Sela, Amu, and Tusk, I get that they sort of grew up together or they've known each other for a while probably. But that doesn't mean there's no conflict. With Leo and Tusk have the most conflict out of everybody. Because Leo is straightforward, so he can sometimes be an ass. And then Tusk is just awkward and sort of mean sometimes. Sera is mean too, but no one really cares because she's Sera. And Amu is kind of a selfish bitch sometimes and just pushes her work on the other people, but she's cute, so no one really cares most of the time, except for Tusk, who usually ends up being an asshole. And the problem I have is that there is fighting in some episodes, but I feel like there's not really like a consistent dynamic in that way. And sometimes I think back to maybe like Shinkenger, where like Yellow and Blue almost never got along. Yellow and Blue, because Shinkenger was Samurai Sentai, and they had Red, who was their lord, and they were his vassals in a way. And Blue is very much like, yes, my lord, very formal, even though he's very over the top and he's very like extravagant, and because he used to be a kabuki dancer and he would express himself through his body a lot of the times, and he's very artistic and expressive and emotional. And Yellow is sort of like, green. I meant green. Chiaki. Chiaki is just like, I'm pretty sure he's a teenager. I think he's either like a teenager or like a first year college student or something like that. He's younger. I think he is in high school though. He's in something like high school, right? So he's a kid and he's mischievous and he doesn't really want to do any of this. And he's kind of an asshole, and because of that, and because he doesn't really care about the formal nature of this whole thing, there's constant conflict. And then Kotoha is just wants everybody to get along, and then Pink is like the somewhat motherly figure, except she kind of sucks at being motherly most of the time. Meanwhile, Red, who I can't remember the name of, I just remember him as my lord because that's what Blue used to call him. This has become his family, and even though he's super awkward and sometimes can't deal with the situation very well, he still believes them to be his family. And once Gin, once I think Gin, I believe his name is, which is the extra ranger, comes in, it adds a little bit more to the Red's character because they were childhood friends. And it's like, even though Red is so stoic, and even though he has this thing about him, he has this relationship with this other member of the party, He has this relationship with this other Sentai member, which adds a different layer to him. But there's always conflicts going on between the characters because their personalities are so different. But like, after a while, after the first couple times it happens in Zyuohgers where they're like, oh, Amu, you didn't do the laundry again. They're just like, yeah, whatever, Amu didn't. They don't even like, yeah, whatever, Amu didn't do the laundry. They don't even care. None even matters. I feel like their personalities sometimes aren't consistent. And I do also feel like in Zyuohgers, like they do in Ninjas, they try and force character growth when it's really, like I said with Misao, he has a whole thing at the end, and I don't want to say what it is, just in case you haven't watched this, but if you have watched this, you know what I'm saying. He has a whole thing at the end where he's supposed to grow, I guess, get better, become someone better, and he just it feels so forced because they were essentially like episode and a half, go, and in an episode and a half, like this thing is traumatic to him. He was traumatized, but in an episode and a half, which takes place in like a span of like maybe a day and a half or something, he's like, no, I just gotta get over it, even though I've been sitting here not getting over it for this entire season. Now, in this literal one moment, faced with my greatest obstacle, I'm just gonna get over it like it's nothing, whatever. Okay, yeah, right, that seems about right? Yeah, I think that's right. And this isn't really like a super proper review, I guess, but I just sort of feel like, and a lot of people probably wouldn't watch this anyway, because I don't even know how many people on my channel know what the fuck Super Sentai even is, or watches Super Sentai, or at Kamen Rider or whatever. But it's just, I liked it, I did like it, and I usually do like most Super Sentais, at least on a very base, it was enjoyable level, The problem was, I feel like, I feel like there hasn't been a good, legitimately good, like, I really liked this Super Sentai in the last couple years, if you know what I mean. But it's over now, and currently we have Q Ranger, which I'll probably be talking about soon. There's only 5 episodes out, maybe 6 by the time I upload any of this, I don't know. But as of right now, as I've seen, there's only 5 episodes, and I'm kind of excited for it. I'm not going to judge it based off its first few episodes, because sometimes Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, they all like take a while to get into it, because they usually have about 48 episodes. So we'll see. I am pretty excited for it, so we'll see what's coming up. Anyway, let me know what you thought of what was it called? Zyuohgers in the comments below, and I'll talk to you later.